Welcome back, fellow explorers, to Project Makirraji. Last time we discussed the frigid ecosystems of the Arctic and the animals that inhabited them. In this episode, we will descend into the mysterious ecosystems of the deep sea. Deep sea environments are some of the harshest places on Makirraji. Almost no sunlight reaches these depths, and crushing pressure is ever present. With every meter down, the weight of water above increases. At the deepest parts of the ocean, the pressure is hundreds of times greater than what is experienced at sea level. In spite of these extreme conditions, life persists. Animals living in these deep and dark places will have to adapt in fascinating ways to cope with the pressure and lack of light. Their bodies might be soft and squishy, or have built-in bubbles of gas to keep them from collapsing. Some deep-sea creatures may even have special proteins in their bodies that keep them from being crushed by the immense pressure. Animals living here must also cope with an extreme lack of sustenance. However, there may be oases in these dark depths. Hydrothermal vents belch a nutrient-rich soup brewed deep within the planet. Some creatures may evolve to harness these vents in order to survive. The Guscata use their filter-feeding bristles to catch plankton in the seas above. However, down in the deep seas they may use them to filter the nutrient-rich soup. This would require them to evolve some radical adaptations in order to cope with the vents' harsh habitat. Hydrothermal vents are extremely hot, therefore these creatures may evolve a form of heat resistance. In order to better regulate temperature, they may have evolved a thickened shell. They may also retract their feeding bristles more frequently, allowing them to cool down and avoid damage from the excessive heat. In order to maximize feeding productivity, these creatures may develop a symbiotic relationship with chemosynthetic bacteria that may live inside their body. Chemosynthetic bacteria are fascinating organisms in their own right, that can live in places where sunlight is scarce, like the deep sea. Unlike photosynthesizers, which use sunlight for energy through photosynthesis, chemosynthetic bacteria get their energy from chemical reactions. The bacteria inside the Guscata use vent chemicals for energy production. Since the Guscata provide the chemosynthetic bacteria with a place to live, it is in the bacteria's best interest to keep their partner alive. Therefore, they may provide a portion of their produced energy to the Guscata. When it comes time to reproduce, the Guscata may employ an interesting natural phenomenon. The males and females will release their reproductive cells into the water. The cells then hitch a ride in naturally buoyant plumes that are created by the mixture of hot water from the vents and the deep ocean's frigid waters. This will launch the cells high into the water column, where they will combine and form a larva. The larva will drift in the water for about 2 Earth weeks before falling back down to the sea floor. Once on the sea floor, they still retain restricted mobility. Therefore, if they do not land on or near a hydrothermal vent, they can crawl along the sea floor until they find one, at which point they will excrete a sticky glue-like substance to affix themselves to their new home, where they will then grow into an adult. We will call these creatures the Elmuscata. They grow up to 12 centimeters tall and live for up to 10 years. The hydrothermal vents would be hot spots of activity in the otherwise desolate void of the deep. One clade of Abitantabuca may develop a nomadic lifestyle, traveling from one vent to the next. They may primarily feed on the Elmuscata and other small creatures living around the vents. However, there is one event that may attract the deep-sea Abitantabuca in bulk. In Earth's oceans, whale falls are bountiful events in which dead organisms fall to the sea floor from the waters above. On Makirraji, when large creatures such as the primanti or teleranti die and sink to the sea floor, this will spur a unique feeding event for the local inhabitants. An event of this scale will undoubtedly attract hundreds of hungry animals. However, the Abitantabuka will need a way to sense food in order to find it in the vast and dark expanse of the deep sea floor. For this reason, they may develop tiny bumps along the tips of their tentacles that can sense things such as the chemicals of hydrothermal vents or the smell of a distant carcass. These creatures breed whenever they have the opportunity. As they are often drawn to hydrothermal vents, it is common to find them breeding there. Their young will develop in eggs around vents for about 1 Earth month. Once they hatch, they will live around the vents where they were born at for about a year, at which point they may leave in search of new sources of food and potential mates. We will call these creatures the Penitulton. They grow up to 1.5 meters and live for around 15 years. Another clade that could be found crawling along the seafloor are the Sabascosta. However, they may make some changes to better suit the deep. Since there is very little, if any, light in the deep, these creatures may not need eyes, and over time, they may lose their eyes entirely. Their fins may become more muscular, acting more as legs. These creatures, similar to the Penitulton, have special hairs on their tentacles, which they use to sense hydrothermal vents and whale falls. These creatures spend most of their time traveling from one vent to another. They don't stay long at any particular vent, only feeding and mating if the opportunity arises. When threatened by a predator, these creatures have the ability to flash bioluminescent patches around their body. They flash these lights in random spastic patterns to disorient predators while they make their escape. After mating, these creatures stick their eggs to rocks around the hydrothermal vent. The eggs develop for around 2 Earth weeks before the young hatch. Once they hatch, they stay around the vent for a few hours before heading off. We will call these nomadic creatures the Ardisata. They live up to 10 years and grow up to 0.6 meters long. Traveling to new hydrothermal vents in search of food and mates is a viable strategy. But, for some, it may be easier to hitch a ride on creatures such as the Penitulton. A small clade of Viata may develop pincer-like pedipalps that they use to cling on to other animals. When their host reaches a new hydrothermal vent, the Viata may detach to feed and breed. Once a new host appears, they will cling on and repeat the cycle. They lay their eggs on the sea floor near hydrothermal vents. Once the eggs hatch after a 5-day developmental period, the young will immediately search for a host. We will call these creatures the Peciolata. They grow up to 2 centimeters and live for up to 3 years. Moving up the water column, we find an unexpected creature. Viata and their relatives are most commonly known for their bottom-dwelling lifestyle. However, the unique conditions of the deep may provide them an opportunity. The deep sea is subject to extreme pressure, which might pose a problem for creatures with bones. Bones, being rigid, can be crushed by this pressure. Creatures without bones can survive because their bodies are more flexible and can withstand the pressure changes. This means that creatures such as the Verarella and Primanti will not be as prominent in the deep sea. This may allow descendants of the Viata to become the dominant free-swimming creatures in the deep sea. These creatures may need to make some adjustments to their body plan to adapt for this lifestyle. Their eyes may migrate to the side of their heads in order to see all round them. They may swim by undulating a fin-like structure in a wave-like motion, similar to Earth squids. These creatures feed upon whatever they can get their pedipalps on. Since they are now free swimming, they can better fulfill the role of active predator. When it is time to reproduce, these creatures will rise from the depths. They form swarms under the moonlight and begin to breed. Once they have bred, they will return to the deep, and the females will lay their eggs. We will call these creatures the altata. They grow up to 0.4 meters long and live for up to 15 years. The Cadola and their relatives may find a place in this harsh ecosystem. Unlike the Verarella and Primanti, these creatures never evolved bones. This will allow them to live at extremely deep depths. However, once they enter the deep, they will be faced with predators they have never seen before. To combat these new threats, such as the altata, these creatures partner with a rather unique bacteria. Bioluminescent bacteria are common in deep-sea environments. These bacteria use a special chemical reaction to create light. Bioluminescent bacteria come in a wide variety of shapes and sizes. Some are free-living, while others live in symbiosis with other organisms. For example, some bioluminescent bacteria live inside the light organs of certain fish. One clade of Cadola may evolve something similar. They may develop a pouch on their underside in which they store this bacteria. When they are in danger, they will utilize a specialized funnel in their pouch to expel the bacteria. This funnel condenses the bacteria into a small point, and once it's released, it quickly expands, creating a bioluminescent cloud, creating a diversion allowing the Cadola to escape. These Cadola breed once a year. During a single night, they rise from the deep and venture to beaches. It is here that they breed. They then lay their eggs in the sand. After about 3 Earth weeks, the eggs hatch and a pale version of the adults emerges. These fry congregate in schools of up to 10,000 individuals. They then move to deeper waters. During this time in their lives, they possess specialized pores in their pouches which allow bacteria to enter. This is how they cultivate their bioluminescent bacteria. Each Cadola has different composition of bacteria species in their pouch, giving them each a slightly unique glow. Once they grow older, the pores on their pouch close, trapping the bacteria inside. It is in the Cadola's best interest to keep their bacteria alive, therefore they may excrete a steady flow of nutrients into the pouch. This will allow the bacteria to live their lives inside the Cadola. They will even reproduce in the pouch, ensuring the Cadola has a replenishable supply. As they mature, they move deeper and deeper down the water column. The swarms that once numbered in the thousands are now made up of just a handful of individuals, as most are either separated or eaten. We will call these unique creatures the Luxocauda. They grow up to 18 centimeters and live for up to 10 years. The deep sea is a tough environment with limited food. This can favor predators that are efficient hunters who have developed special adaptations to find and capture prey in the darkness. The constipala of the Arctic may find a home in the deep sea. As they don't have a skeletal structure, they may quickly adapt to the extreme pressure. The deep sea constipala, being descended from their Arctic counterparts, may already be accustomed to the extreme chill of the deep. However, in order to survive and thrive in the deep sea, they will need to alter their hunting style. They can no longer rely on the massive swarms of Euthymus, therefore, they may become generalist predators, feeding on any creatures that come too close. However, they can't rely on pure chance. They may need a way of attracting a steady food supply. To accomplish this, they may develop bioluminescent strips on their tentacles. These creatures do not rely on other species for their light. Instead, they preform the chemical reactions needed in their own body. This allows them to have more control over their light, letting them turn it on and even flash it in unique patterns. They may use this control to their advantage. When they are hunting, they will spread their tentacles, revealing their lights. This will catch the attention of prey, but they may still be too wary. So, once they sense prey is close, they begin to flash their lights in a mesmerizing pattern, putting their prey into a sort of trance, beckoning them closer. Once the prey gets close enough, they strike, capturing their prey with their tentacles. This bioluminescent adaptation is also useful when attracting a mate. When these creatures are ready to mate, they will glow a unique pattern. This pattern is specially designed to attract mates. Interestingly, males and females emit different breeding patterns. Once these creatures breed, the female will keep the eggs inside her body for most of their development, only laying them when they have around a week until hatching. We'll call these unique hunters the Trifulgapala. They live for up to 20 years and grow up to 1 meter long. Although it may be difficult for organisms such as the Verarella to inhabit the deep sea as they have skeletons, it is not implausible. Any deep-dwelling Verarella may make changes to their skeletal system. They may develop a remarkably light and flexible skeleton, allowing them to withstand the crushing pressure of the abyss. These creatures possess a unique hunting style. Their tentacles have elongated to more than 3 times their body length. All descendants of the Nugia possess an organ similar to the gas sacs of Earth's fish. These organs allow them to control their position in the water column. In these deep-sea Verarella, their gas sacs have been repositioned to the tips of their tails. This allows them to smoothly move upward and downward in the water column. Their tentacles are lined with touch receptors which are 10 times more sensitive than a human finger. These touch receptors allow them to swiftly react to even the slightest stimuli when unsuspecting prey passes by. The tentacles are also lined with hundreds of razor-sharp teeth designed to hook and masticate their prey. Their large eyes have been repositioned in a ring around their head, giving them a 360-degree view. These creatures possess bioluminescent patches of skin on their fins. They may flash these patches to communicate breeding intentions or territorial claims with others of their kind. When the breeding season arrives, these creatures float up. They do not venture too high, however, as their bodies aren't equipped for such decompression. Once they achieve suitable elevation, they both male and female release their gametes into the open ocean. Once their reproductive cells merge, the eggs float in the current for approximately 5 weeks. Once they grow heavy enough, they sink down to the sea floor where they hatch. We will call these eerie hunters the Mortirella. They may grow up to 3 meters long and can live for up to 25 years. Returning to the ocean floor, we find the Cicarella. These creatures are descendants of the Avantabuca. While their ancestors still roam the deep feeding on whale falls, the Cicarella have taken to active predation. The Cicarella possess sharp spear-like teeth on the ends of their tentacles, which they use to puncture prey or crush the shells of their main prey, the Elmuscata. The Cicarella's eyes have been rearranged to sit on the top of their head, enabling them to see any prey above or around them. These creatures use a unique quirk of the deep sea to aid them when hunting. As sunlight travels deeper and deeper into the ocean depths, the water filters out more and more colors of light. Reds, oranges, and yellows are the first to disappear because they have longer wavelengths. By the time sunlight reaches the deep sea, there is mostly just blue light left. Since there is almost no red light in the deep sea, a red creature such as the Speculative wouldn't reflect any red light. That's because there wouldn't be any red light to bounce off its body. To other deep-sea creatures that rely on sight, that red predator would simply look dark or black, perfectly blending into the darkness of the deep. In the complete darkness of the deep sea, blending in with the blackness is a great way to hide. So, being red actually turns into a kind of camouflage for the Speculative. When it comes to reproduction, these creatures employ a unique strategy. The Speculative has a unique vocal sac that allows it to produce incredibly loud, low-frequency rumbles. These deep, booming calls travel for vast distances through the water, echoing off the undersea mountains and trenches of the deep sea. Female Speculative, scattered across the vast darkness, use their exceptional hearing to detect these rumbling calls. The echoes bouncing off different features on the seabed give the females crucial information about the size, location, and even the health of the male based on the quality of the rumble. The female, if impressed, responds with her own vocalizations, a series of clicks and pops that resonate with the male's display. This duet confirms their compatibility and initiates mating. Once the creatures have mated, the female will lay 2 to 5 eggs. The eggs lay on the sand for around 2 Earth months. The young emerge as pale worm-like creatures. Over a span of around 3 weeks, they grow into miniature versions of the adults. They reach sexual maturity at around 3 years of age. The Altata, with their boneless body and generalist lifestyle, may soon take advantage of any niche remaining. The ancestral Altata come equipped with poor eyesight. In fact, some species have even lost sight altogether. However, the perpetual darkness of the deep sea puts a premium on good eyesight. Over generations, Altata with better light sensitivity might have a significant advantage. They could spot prey others miss and evade predators more effectively. Some Altata might develop bioluminescent organs. These organs could emit a faint glow, perhaps to startle predators or to attract curious prey. This bioluminescence may lead to a new clade of Altata. Over time, the Altata might develop specialized organs that control the intensity of the light. These fascinating light organs could be positioned strategically for maximum effect. They may flash their lights in unique patterns to communicate with each other. These patterns could be a way to find mates, warn about danger, or share information about food sources. Additionally, they may use their light to draw in small creatures such as the Luxocalda, making them easier to catch. These creatures travel in schools of up to 10 individuals. Every year around the same time, all the schools rise from the deep, forming groups of several hundred to over 1,000. As all the schools merge, the females release their eggs for the males to fertilize. The fertilized eggs then drift in the current for around 3 Earth weeks until they hatch. Each female will release hundreds of eggs at a time, increasing the chances of fertilization as well as the chances of survival for the young and vulnerable hatchlings. As hatchlings, they are tiny and transparent, drifting with the currents. The open ocean is a dangerous place for young Altata. They lack the strong bodies and specialized organs of adults. However, their small size and transparency help to camouflage them. During this early stage, the Altata rely on tiny particles of food floating in the water. They use specialized hair-like structures to filter these food particles from the water column. As the Altata grow, they develop the faint bioluminescent organs that have become a hallmark of their clade. As the Altata mature, their bodies change. They grow larger and stronger. They also begin a migration that will take them to the deepest parts of the ocean. Their instincts compel them to move downwards, towards the darkness of the ocean floor. To navigate this perilous journey, they rely on subtle changes in water pressure and temperature to guide them. The journey down to the deep sea is a long one. It takes the Altata far from the world they knew as hatchlings. But for those who persevere, the deep sea offers a new home. Here, in the perpetual darkness, their bioluminescence becomes a true asset, allowing them to lure prey and confuse predators. We will call these Altata the Lucerolata. They may grow up to 1 meter long and live for up to 25 years. However, yet another branch of Altata may specialize for a different niche. The Pregrandata is a colossal filter feeder that cruises the abyss of the deep ocean. The Pregrandata has developed a unique body plan and feeding strategy, allowing secure its ecological niche. The Pregrandata's immense size offers some protection from predators. However, there are always dangers in the deep sea. One way the Pregrandata might avoid predators is by simply staying out of their way. Unlike its predatory kin, the Altata, the Pregrandata lacks any predatory behaviors. Instead, its most prominent feature is its massive size. This immense body allows the Pregrandata to filter vast quantities of water, a necessity development in the nutrient-sparse environment of the deep sea. The Pregrandata possesses fuzzy structures on the tips of their tentacles. These structures are made up of millions of microscopic hairs that act like a net. As the Pregrandata moves through the water, it creates a gentle current. This current draws in a buffet of microscopic organisms, which get trapped in the filter hairs and become a constant source of sustenance for the Pregrandata. These creatures do not mate often. They only mate if they happen to bump into one another. However, on rare occasions a handful will emerge from the deep and begin mating. The Pregrandata's reproductive strategy prioritizes quantity over parental care. A single female can lay hundreds of eggs within large, gelatinous sacs that are attached to her body. These sacs provide some protection for the developing embryos but don't involve any direct parental care from the adult. When the Pregrandata eggs hatch, they release tiny larvae into the water column. These larvae are far too small to filter feed like their parents. Instead, they feed on scraps of dead animals. The larval Pregrandata are weak swimmers and spend their early lives drifting with the currents. As they grow, they develop the filter-feeding hairs and other features that will allow them to become the filter-feeding giants of the deep sea. This journey to maturity can take up to 10 years. They will continue to grow throughout their 40-year lifespan, eventually reaching a length of up to 5 meters. In the inky expanse of the deep sea, we have encountered strange and wonderful creatures. The toughest and most resourceful creatures have not only survived, but thrived, by relying on keen adaptations and exotic modifications tailored to suit their pitch-black home. In the next episode, we will discuss an environment quite different from the deep yet still fraught with its own unique challenges and exceptional inhabitants. In the next episode, we will traverse the rivers and lakes of Makirraji. A huge thank you to all the artists on Discord who made fan art for this episode. Your contributions to this project were invaluable. If you want to join the Discord server, you can find the link in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share your thoughts on these incredible creatures. See you in the next episode.